this is long overdue. I'm excited about this though, because for some no good reason at all, we've been delaying this podcast from happening, but we're finally able to introduce Haylee, one of our coaches on the team here, to the podcast and give you guys an insight of who she is, why she does what she does. And I'm really excited about this because, you know, you have shaped into such an amazing coach. And it was cool because you were my client first. So I already had a relationship with you. And then we had so much in common as far as like our philosophy. And that's really important to me, obviously, because I think that as the leader of the team, having people come into the brand and being like, I already believe in this, it makes it 10 times better and easier to run as a team. And I think, I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I think we all work so well together as a team and as a unit. It just makes me super happy to see. And it's super fulfilling. So I'm excited about this because people finally get to hear your voice. And if they're watching on YouTube, see your face and learn more about Haylee. So without any further ado, give us a little intro. Like, who is Haylee? Give us your full name, your background, what you've done, and why you're doing what you do.
Awesome. So yeah, my name's Haylee Colannino, and I am one of the Tailored Coaching Method coaches. I guess I'll start with where my fitness journey kind of began. When I was growing up, I was a competitive figure skater. I did synchronized skating. So that's like a team of 16 to 20 girls on the ice doing the same thing at the same time, which was really fun.
Yeah.
So when I started getting older, like 13, 14 years old, and a little bit better and more competitive, our coaches brought in a personal trainer to do off ice training with us. And basically what we did was skills off the ice to help us become better and stronger on the ice. And I started really noticing the difference in my performance on the ice. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was one of the only nerds that took it seriously at the time. So he started letting me lead the warm-ups and the cool downs because I would ask tons of questions and just kind of like always wanted to know why we were doing what we were doing. And he was my mentor, my inspiration. We called him Sarge. So I honestly hope he hears this. We called him Sarge, and he made me want to be a personal trainer. So fast forward to when I was about 18, I became a certified personal trainer. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm not going to college. I'm just going to train people. I'm going to work in gyms. And I did that. But I'm glad that my parents kind of made me go to college. So I ended up going to the University of New Hampshire for nutrition and dietetics. That's where I did my bachelor's. And honestly, it was the most fun 4 years of my life. Shameless plug to UNH. And after that, I took 2 years off. So I got my undergrad degree. I did a lot at the university during that time. And then during my 2 years off, I worked full time as a trainer, and I did nutrition with clients in the gym called On Target Fitness in Portsmouth. And I also worked at UNH, where I graduated from, in the athletic department. I worked with the football team, and I started teaching them more about macros. And obviously, if you know anything about football, which I didn't at the time, my senior year, I actually took theories of coaching football just to better understand what these guys actually had to do. But there's a lot of different positions and weights that they have to meet to be better at that position. So basically, I had a list of guys that had to gain weight, lose weight, maintain their weight. And I had to kind of teach them how to use macro tracking to do it. And it was really fun. I would meet with probably 20 guys at least every other week and work with them. And it was cool to see the connection for them. Like when they started seeing that when they improved their diet, they not only had body composition changes, but they felt better on the field. So that kind of fueled my fire even more to teach more people how they can make small changes and see so much benefit in their life. So then as I was coaching in person at the gym, I competed a couple times in bodybuilding. I competed OCB figure and NPC bikini, did a lot better in bikini. So I've had a couple coaches myself. And throughout these different coaches, I started working with Cody. And I knew right away, like he said, that we were going to be a perfect fit. I really valued his knowledge, and I felt that even though I had degrees in nutrition, like I could still learn so much from him. And even to this day, he's still one of my greatest mentors and will continue to be that. So while I was competing, I kind of was like in the middle of life, just kind of going about my ways, and I decided to go back to school because I didn't have enough nutrition education yet. So currently I am in school at Florida State getting my master's in sports nutrition. And next year I start my dietetic internship to become a registered dietitian while coaching with Tailored Coaching Method. So it's a really fun circle of nutrition and fitness and health.
It's literally like you are so and this is actually one of the things I love about like talking to you about this stuff is you're so engaged in it in so many different ways that, and I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it makes you so enthusiastic all the times. And I gotta imagine your environment is set up that way to where it keeps pushing you into that direction, which is good. But you're always so enthusiastic about everything, which makes it that much easier to listen to you and that much easier for your clients to adhere because they know you actually give a shit about this stuff. So I have a few questions to kind of dive into based on your background and everything you just said. But the first one is something that I asked all the coaches, and last time they were on the show, it was actually they were here and we hadn't announced the new name yet, and it was like I like kind of snuck it in by asking them like your definition of tailored coaching without anybody knowing we were going to change the name. So that's the question for you is like I get kind of your philosophy in a way with coaching, but like what to you, what does it mean to be a tailored coach? Like what does tailored coaching actually look like to you?
Oh, I really like that question. So basically, what it means to be a tailored coach to me is helping people realize that nutrition isn't one size fits all, and it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be. When it comes to figuring out kind of what to approach to take with your nutrition, it should depend on who you are as a person. And I know you've said this too, it really comes down to fitting the nutrition into the lifestyle, not fitting the lifestyle into the nutrition or the diet or whatever you want to call it. But I really find that in working with such a wide variety of people with tailored coaching method, it's so interesting to see how much it matters that you get to know your clients and that you get to know what their life is like, because nobody should have to feel like they're dieting or feel like they're restricted for their whole lives, because what we do is sustainable. Yeah, you're going to lose weight, yeah, you're going to gain muscle or achieve your goal, but you're going to feel like it's just a healthy lifestyle change, and that's what it means to be a tailored coach.
I love that, and I love the point about like the variety, and I think that's like it'd be cool for me to hear your perspective because that's actually something we haven't talked about. But I was talking to who was it? I was on a so actually twice. Last week I was on Barbell Shrugged, and then this week I was on my mentor's podcast, and both of them asked me the same thing, and it was kind of about like who you work with and kind of how like we are so ingrained in the science, so it's like are the people you work with like ultra advanced individuals? It's like yeah, we have those clients, but I think like like steered the business in a direction at the beginning that most people don't recommend, and that's like not having a niche whatsoever. Instead of like isolating like we work with this exact type of female, it's like well we work with everybody, advanced, beginner, old, young, male, female, it doesn't really matter. How has that been? Like is that like to you like something that you thrive on, or do you find it like I know you're going to say you thrive on it, so I want to say like, or do you find it difficult? But like how is that with you? Because you have a really wide variety of clients and you're able to connect with so many different people.
Yeah, I do like it because while I do have a wide variety of clients, from like endurance athletes to competitors to lifestyle moms and dads, they're all in it together. And I feel like with my clients, I really try to make a community. We have like a group chat, we do some calls. So like at the end of the day, even if everybody is working towards something different, they all like come together in that aspect of they all have a goal. And I also love having a wide variety because it keeps pushing me to be better. Like every time I get somebody who has a different ailment or a different goal in terms of weight loss, endurance, bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, it makes me have to go outside of my kind of comfort zone and do a little bit of extra research for them, which is half the reason why I like this job.
I actually think that's like one of the signs of a really good coach, like i- being put in a position and I mean this in two ways. One being like the art of coaching, you kind of have to be a chameleon, right? Like you have to be able to vibe with a lot of different people. So that's, I mean, that's all communication, it's personability, it's respect, it's relatability, it's everything. It's psychology, it's not nutrition, right? But and then the other side of it is you have to be ready to geek out on nutrition. You have to really know your shit because every person is different. Every person needs a different prescription. Every person has a different goal. Every person has different hormone profile. Like it's all over the board. And your prescription changes, which a good coach understands that and actually gets excited about it. Like I know for me, even like there's period of times where I'm not taking on new clients. I get like almost frustrated because I want to, because I'm like, like one of you guys is going to be working with them, but I'm like, man, this one sounds exciting. Like, it's like, I want to do that. But I think that's just part of loving coaching. You know what I mean? But you also brought up another really good point, which is something that I really want to touch on today, because you're so good at this. And this is the community aspect. You help me in the Facebook group quite a bit, but you also do a really good job with your clients specifically. Talk to me about like what you try to do and why you emphasize it. Like, why is it so important to have that connection? Because I think right now, and I couldn't believe I got this DM. I got a DM from a company that is, I'm not going to say any names, but they do like algorithm nutrition. It's like an app that just basically plugs away your macros, and was like trying to work with me. I was like, do you know what I do? Like, there's no way. Like that. I don't believe algorithms work. I don't think an app can tell you how you're feeling, how your emotions are, how your psychology is, and all that stuff. And there's no human connection. I think it's so valuable. So talk to me about that. Like, why do you find it so valuable? Why is that such an emphasis on your coaching?
Definitely. So that was kind of the biggest thing that I was nervous about going from in-person coaching to online. I was afraid that I wouldn't really get to know my clients. So I've gone out of my way to do it because I feel like if I don't really understand what their life is like, the struggles that they're going through, I'm not the best coach for them, because it's not just numbers. Like you said, it's not just, oh, I hit my macros and I trained. It has to do with so much more than that. Like, do you have stress at home? Do you have kids at home? Are you sleeping? Like, what kind of stressor are you? So I really like value getting to know my clients, and I feel like I have more fun coaching when I know them, because they're all awesome. I mean, I'm biased at this point. But, but some of the things that I do to get to know my clients more and bring that community is we have a group chat, and it ranges from talking about what recipes we cooked that week to talking about, oh, did you go on your daily walk? No, I'm in this state and it's raining. And we actually have shout out to Erin, because she's been sending a daily joke, which in the morning, she sends in the morning, and it brightens everybody's day. But everyone's kind of getting to know each other in the group, and I'll send voice memos or videos of myself talking, and just kind of cover like random topics as they come up. I'll just kind of I'll like probe them and send them daily challenges, like, what are you guys grateful for today? What is one thing that went well? And then something else that we do that is so fun is bi-weekly Zoom meetings with anyone from the team that is able to make it. I'll take a poll to see what nights people are available, and I'll ask people if they have questions. And if they don't, I'll usually plan a few topics. Some weeks we just get to know each other and we just talk about, I'm Haylee and I'm working on this right now. And my clients have been able to kind of learn from each other a little bit about what other clients have done well that maybe they're struggling with, or like finding, oh, you're both moms, you both struggle with having your kids' food around all the time. So I think it helps, especially during this time, that all of us crazy fitness people stay together. And that's what I always say to them. They're all crazy, but it just makes it feel like more of a family. And that's also why I wanted to start working with Tailored Coaching Method, because online coaching is the best job you can have, but it's not as rewarding and it's not as fun if you don't have other people to share it with, like you guys and the other coaches. So
I 100% agree. I think that like that's another question I was asked was like, what am I studying more than anything? And it's leadership. And it makes me so much more excited about what we're doing, because I'm able to help kind of just bring it tighter and tighter and just start new things and do new things together and build new projects for you guys. And it's just rewarding, and like you said, like, I think that I look at it like we are, like I've said this publicly, like we're the Justice League of nutrition coaches. Like each one of those superheroes is like cool, but when they come together as a Justice League, like they're the shit. And like that's that's kind of a weird way to look at it, but that's how I look at this. Another cool thing you did, just to add to the different things, was the playlist on Spotify, which is hilarious because there's
so
like
good.
It's really good. There's a lot of good music on there, but it's so funny because it'll go from like rave techno, like hard EDM, to like Metallica, to like Jay-Z, to
Taylor
like
Swift,
to
Caroline.
Taylor Swift. Yeah, it's so funny, but it is a good playlist. So that was cool. But it, like, in general, I think like my big point with bringing this up is just that I always say that it's more the macros, like just as like a hashtag, but I think that's like so valuable for coaches listening too, is like you need to be able to like create a tribe. And for people looking for coaching, you're going to do much better if you find a tribe. Because and that's exactly why I don't do this alone. That's why I wanted to build this team. That's why I put so much into that, because we do so much better when we're all together growing as a unit.
Yeah, I agree.
So
And earlier you said that sometimes you get excited about like leads and you're like, oh, I want to take them. I can always tell because you like extra offer to take the first call. And I'm like, no, it's fine. They sound cool. I want to talk to them. And you're like, are you sure I can take it? And I'm like,
no, and it's good because sometimes I need to not take too many. You know what I mean? I need to make sure that I'm not taking enough, because that's a hard part too about coaching is taking on too much. You know what I mean? And there's even times where you reach out to me and you're like, hey, like midterms are coming up. Like I need, some a little bit more time just to make sure that I don't get overwhelmed. And I think the important thing about that is it keeps our quality control high. Like obviously quantity matters for business growth, and at the end of the day, like we do this to reach people. So I want us to work with as many people as possible because I want to help more people. But at the same time, like we all know our limits and we all know where our quality is maximized, and so we try to stay there. And like Tori knows where my quality is maximized, so she will like literally not put people in my schedule if she knows that I'm like, or she'll be like, I saw this call, what coach is that going to go to? And I'm like, Haylee. Like I'll send it that way. But no, I think that's so important. One thing I wanted to ask you too, because you have I mean, you're like in the trenches of researching and stuff like that, is the differences you see in like scientific theory, I guess, or scientific principles in like coaching application. Because I think there's a lot of people who are just coaches, and then there's a lot of people who are just researchers or just getting their PhD or just writing articles and being behind the scenes. There's not that many people that are actually like in the trenches. They're in the lab, they're studying in school, getting their masters, and they're coaching a lot of real life people, especially in Gen Pop, right? Like sometimes people are working with advanced bodybuilders when they're also doing research. And I think that's a completely different ball game compared to working with general population. So I'm just curious, like how much actually translates over, like what's the practical application in the scientific principles? Like how do those vary, if that makes sense?
yeah, I think it definitely depends on the kind of research that's being done. A lot of the human research that I have been involved in isn't necessarily something that I can directly apply to my clients because it's usually very specific. Like collagen supplementation is a big one that I was involved in, or like a beet supplement for endurance. But I think that like backtracking a little bit to like education and nutrition and coaching are two very different things. Because like in a master's program, we do a lot of reading of research. So I get more experience right now, at least through my classes, I'd say. And just based on conversations in classes, it's very interesting to hear different people's takes on things if they haven't applied it to anyone. It's usually very black and white, and that's not the case when you're coaching somebody, because how somebody's body reacts to something has a lot more to do with how it should, right? The metabolic processes. It has to do with your dieting history. It has to do with your daily life now. And I think like a lot of the studies are in very specific populations, where a lot of the kind of things that I'm learning in class are like very set in stone, kind of one way that they happen, because you're only seeing one group of people. You're not seeing it across the board, and everybody's body is so different. I don't know if that makes sense. So I think like being in school helps me learn, but coaching at the same time helps me realize that there's definitely some disconnect between like what I learn and how people respond.
Yeah.
You have to really like know the person.
Yeah. Do you think that there is, um, like you almost have to take some research with a grain of salt? The reason I say is like the Matador study. I know you remember when that came out. Like everybody was like, this is the way. And it's like, that diet was 32 weeks long. Like, sometimes it's hard to convince somebody to be in a deficit for 32 weeks long. Yeah, there's diet breaks, but like, that's a long fucking time. So what's the practical application of that? Like, maybe we don't go 2 on, 2 off. Maybe it's just adding some diet breaks in because we see that can help blunt the metabolic adaptation response. But like, some people will just read a study and they go, yep, that's it. That's what we do. You know what I mean? Versus just like kind of picking it apart. And I think that's probably even more difficult when you're researching it, because you want to take it like it's the holy grail and just run with it, but you can't.
Yeah, basically, like what I've learned from reading research and working with so many different people is if you're going to apply something like the diet breaks or the refeeds, you need to look at a lot of different research. Because, like the Matador study, for example, is one population. I believe it's obese men. But there are even now more studies coming out with diet breaks and refeeds in different populations. So you have to kind of consider what population are they studying and how much control does this study have? Because some studies control every meal that the people eat, which isn't realistic. So I think the cool part is, as I get to know my clients and the way that we have our clients track, where we can kind of see a big picture of their week on the screen, seeing like, oh, we did this diet break, we did these refeed days for you, all these other things are happening in your life, I can see that in the notes. How did your weight and measurements respond? And that kind of is how I determine like what I do with them the next time they need a diet break or a refeed. It's more trial and error than it is set in stone, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why we require a 3-month minimum commitment. But like, when you can see somebody doing something for at least a few weeks, now I can go, okay, now I have some data. Like, how has your sleep been? How has your stress been? How has the weights in the gym been? How has, like you said, stressors in your life been? How consistent are you with macros? What's your weight doing? And we can kind of connect the dots and be like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And even like, and I think a lot of people have a problem with adjusting too frequently. They're like, they read a client update and they're like, oh, I'm supposed to adjust something because they're updating me. It's like, they don't pay you for weekly adjustments. They pay you for weekly accountability and check-ins and adjustments over the long haul. And that's really like, I think it's funny because the less, like, if we really think about like practical theory, the less you can adjust something, the better, because that means it's working. Like, why
Exactly.
change something if you don't have to,
Definitely. I've had clients where I've put them in a deficit and not touched it for a long time. We just dialed in other variables here and there, set different goals, and kept grinding at it.
Yeah. And if it works, it works, why change it? I love that. Talk to me a little bit about, like you brought up a collagen study. Talk to me a little bit about the collagen study and like what practical advice you can give people about that. I didn't even think about this before we did the podcast, but I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a question I get all the time, especially because collagen was like this massive, it was a supplement a long time ago, then it came back and made this like big boom, and everybody's like filling half their protein intake up with collagen, which I don't recommend. But like, tell us like what you guys found in that study. Is it beneficial? What do we know about it? And what information is actually useful?
So unfortunately, I can't tell you too much yet because we haven't finished analyzing the data. We have our last 2 participants this month.
Damn it.
I know, but I will. When we analyze the data, I'll have something for you. But I recommend that my clients take it. The reason that we're even studying it is to evaluate bone and joint health. Our study is specifically looking at knee pain in older individuals who are or were active in their life. So I don't know, it's blinded, so I don't really know who has what supplement at this point, but everything should be coming out within the next couple of months. So cliffhanger.
Did you have to, and you'll have to write a blog when that comes out, because that's always a good way to kind of review the research. Did you do any research on collagen in general prior to see, so that you could just have any type of general recommendation? You said that you recommend your clients take it. So like, can you explain why? And the main reason is because I think a lot of people consume it for the wrong reasons. Like, I actually used it every day when I had surgery and I was recovering from surgery and stuff, but some people assume that it's protein, and I don't think people understand that it doesn't have the same anabolic response that a normal protein does for muscle growth. So can you explain like why you're recommending it to your clients and who might benefit from it?
Definitely. So I will admit I did not do that much research on it as I was just kind of an assist on this research project. I was more involved in other ones involving fat metabolism, and protein feeding is something that I've been reading on a lot. But basically, the way that I view collagen with my clients is it's first things like you said, recovering from an injury. If you're, especially for females as we're aging, our bone density is declining, right? And poor bone density leads to fractures, leads to the inability to train, which none of us out there want. It can also help with hair, nails, and skin, so if you care about that stuff. But collagen is definitely not made the same as like a whey or a casein protein in its amino acid makeup. So like Cody said, it's not really optimal for a post-workout. It's actually probably better for you to take it earlier in the morning or just before your workout. I know a lot of people put it in their coffee, but basically it helps strengthen your bones, your joints, your hair, and it can lead to better recovery. The main reason that I have my clients take it is because most servings are 10 grams of protein, and they do need those benefits of bone density and all that other stuff. But I have a lot of people who sometimes struggle to hit protein, and adding this flavorless collagen to their coffee in the morning is another way to do it.
I actually really like it in my coffee, honestly. Like that was like the thing
Done it.
that was like the thing that kept me drinking. It was like it was almost like creamer. It because it made it that like texture. It was nice. Like, and it was obviously not creamer or like fatty dairy creamer. So it was a nice like add to it. And I would agree too. I think like a lot of our clients are they're usually at least at the minimum amount of protein, if not a little bit higher than what the minimum amount is. So adding a little bit of collagen to just get over that hump is like a really good recommendation, especially because I think there is a lot of reasons, especially as people age, to just take care of and that's something that people don't think about. They're like, oh, I just want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you should still be focusing on all these little things, because I think in the long run, those little things play a big role in adding it up, you know?
They do. And I've read research in regards to like training and weight loss and like blood markers and stuff like that. And you can lose weight and you can train hard and still not be healthy. So that's definitely something that I like about our coaching too, with the different phases. And we do care about people's health. Like
Yeah.
I have my clients tell me if they're having their menstrual cycle, if they're having digestive issues, kind of what's going on there, because health is the main goal.
Yeah.
And fitness and health can be two very different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that whole triangle of awareness thing is really important for people to understand and know that like certain times you do need to sacrifice one thing to chase the other. I mean, like I got on stage and I was not the healthiest, but that was like my main focus there. And afterwards, the focus was health. And you have to understand that you can't stay on one end of the spectrum 24/7. Like you have to shift. And that's the whole reason of our periodization and the phasing system that we use. What are some things that you're looking forward to in the future? Like, what are you looking into right now as far as, I mean, like on all spectrums, like yourself personally, with coaching, and then with like research and what you're trying to study?
Yeah. So within the next year, I'm going to be able to sit for the registered dietitian's exam. So I'm really excited for this next year coming up, the next fall semester, to start to explore different areas of nutrition. In August, I'm going to be moving to North Carolina for a couple months to intern on the Army base at Fort Bragg and do their nutrition. So that's something different that I've never done that I'm really excited about. So over the next year, I'm really excited to explore different aspects of nutrition and figure out how I can bring it all back to coaching and my clients. And then from there, I'm going to graduate and have to figure out where I'm going to live. So doing some travel is definitely going to happen. Probably visit Seattle. Other than that, personally, I do want to compete again in the near future. So we'll see what happens there, and just really keep figuring out how I can keep bringing science to application for my clients and never stop learning.
I love that. I'm a few things. I'm really excited for the Army thing because I think that'll be a really, really cool experience. I'm also excited for you to compete again because I think you've had a really good, productive off season. So like when you do get ready, I think it's going to be really, really good. It's going to be a successful season. But I love that last thing you said, because again, on an interview I was doing last week, I was like, one of our main goals is to bring science to the general population. I think that a lot of people assume that the science will just go over their head and that you don't need to teach Gen Pop clients anything about the science or the weeds because it's too complex or overwhelming. and we disagree. We're like, let's just simplify the science and let's teach them about it, because that's how their results will last really long, and they'll be able to do it on their own someday. I always tell people, like, we want to make you into your own coach eventually, because you're not going to hire a coach for the rest of your life. And I think that's really important. And not a lot of people are invested in that. So I think one of the things I appreciate about you and everybody else on the team is that you already had that mentality before coming on board. And that's why it was like an easy transition to get you started, because it was like, you're already 100% on point in seeing eye to eye with everything that we do, because that's how you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I love making science into stories to help people understand them. Sometimes my clients laugh at me, but it works.
We're geeks and we're proud, and it's not a big deal.
Seriously.
Cool. So tell everybody where they can find you, Instagram, all that stuff, and then obviously I'll link your bio for the website in there as well.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram. That's where I post most of my content. You can see my amazing cat Vincent in my stories. He's featured a lot because I'm obsessed with him. My Instagram is Haylee, Haylee C Fit. I know my Instagram. Haylee C Fit _ TCM.
I'll link that in the show notes so you guys can follow her. She puts out a lot of content, so definitely go check that out. And I always laugh when I see your cat, because my brother and my dad's names are Vincent. So it's like when you see a dog named Steve and you have like a brother Steve or something. It's like kind of a weird thing. So I
Like
always laugh
halfway through, he hit something off the counter and was like eating it off the floor, and I was trying not to look.
about it. Don't get distracted. We're podcasting. God damn it, Vincent.
He's so fat and distracting.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. That was perfect. And I'm glad everybody finally got to introduce you or to learn more about you. And then we'll do another one in the future where we can do like a roundtable where we dive into some serious topics.
Awesome. Thank you. This was fun.